So Anthony Yarde continues to say that he's a free agent and that he's no longer tied to Queensberry Promotions. And Frank Warren continues to say the exact opposite. It looks like the two sides are headed to court. I absolutely do not trust Frank Warren or his intentions whatsoever. Wouldn't trust the man as far as I could throw him. I've been following boxing since the 1980s, and like most boxing promoters, I see Frank Warren as a snake. But on the flip side, I don't trust Tunde Ajayi either. And of course, he's the manager of Anthony Yarde. He's the person who, it seems, has had the falling out with Frank Warren. This is a direct quote from Frank Warren. He said, "At the moment, as we stand right now, I'm past that," as in the potential Boatse Yarde fight. He said, "His management, I've got no time for anymore. I'm done with them." And to reiterate, his manager is Tunde Ajayi. He went on to say, his management, the purses they're asking for, are the most ridiculous purses. Go to the purse bid. You find out what your true worth is. And so if you listen to one side of the story, i.e. Frank Warren's side of the story, and take it all at face value, then you'll come to the conclusion that it's just a case of Anthony Yarde and or Tunde being greedy, being delusional and unrealistic. But we don't know all the ins and outs. So I'll give you some possibilities based upon my experience observing similar situations over the years. Sometimes a promoter might offer you a fight. The purse seems good, the split seems good, but there's a catch. If you take this fight, if you accept this deal, then you'll be tied to that promoter contractually for several more fights afterwards. And so you decide to turn that down. But the public aren't aware of that catch. All they hear is that you turned down a particular fight, and your ex-promoter or your current promoter, depending on how you see it, is claiming that you're asking for silly money. Well, what if the £5 million, which is allegedly being demanded by Anthony Yarde and Tunde Ajayi, is based upon this fight being the first of a multi-fight deal? What if Frank Warren isn't actually willing to make the fight for Anthony Yarde unless he signs an extension? Again, I've got no knowledge of the contract that they have, but I want to just quote you a tweet from Anthony Yarde. He said, "As I said before, I am a free agent. Queensberry have now agreed in writing that the term of my previous promotional agreement has expired, so I am free to negotiate my future fights with any promoters, including Queensberry. I'm excited about the future big fights." So is this really a case of Anthony Yarde trying to jump ship and go to a different promoter? Or is it a case of Anthony Yarde trying to renegotiate his contract? That's a question, folks, because again, I don't know. What I do know is many fighters over the years have come out and said some very disturbing things about Frank Warren. Many fighters have ended up in legal battles with Frank Warren. Most of them lose, but that doesn't necessarily mean they were in the wrong, because Frank Warren typically has deeper pockets than most fighters. One legal battle that he did lose was against Joe Calzaghe, but according to Calzaghe, he didn't get the money that he was owed from winning that legal case. Some say it had something to do with Frank Warren shutting down his company. I'm not saying that's why Frank Warren did it. I don't want to get sued, but that's a narrative that's out there, and it would certainly make sense. Frank Bruno, on several occasions, told a story about when Frank Warren wanted him to sign a contract. And Bruno claims that Warren would not allow Bruno's lawyer to look at the contract before he signed it. He wouldn't allow the guy in the building. Go look that interview up. It's very disturbing. And ultimately, as I understand it, to the best of my recollection, Bruno signed the contract because he felt like he had nowhere else to go in his career. No other options. And there are many other stories about Frank Warren similar to that I've heard over the years. So this is not the kind of guy whose word I take at face value. With that being said, I also don't trust Tunde Ajayi. So I really don't know who to believe in this situation with Anthony Yarde. But Frank Warren did raise a valid point, which was, if Anthony Yarde intends to jump ship, where exactly is he going to go? Frank Warren's the one that has the relationship with the Saudis. Anthony Yarde could have been involved in fights over there and made big money. So if he's burning this bridge with Frank Warren, what's the alternative? Even if Frank Warren's in the wrong, even if he is shortchanging Anthony Yarde, I'm not saying he is, but hypothetically speaking, even if that were the case, is there a better alternative for Anthony Yarde out there? Because I'd love to know what it is. Sometimes in business, you do have to bite the bullet, especially in boxing, where time is of the essence. You can't afford to be as stubborn in boxing as you can in other types of business because boxing is a young man's game. I'm talking from the fighter's perspective now. You've only got a very small window within which to make any serious money. The promoter doesn't have that problem. They can make money at any age. So the promoters have more leverage than the fighters do. If you want to be stubborn and wait it out, that's going to hurt the fighter more than it's going to hurt the promoter. And Anthony Yarde is at Last Chance Saloon. He's lost 2 world title fights. He's in his 30s now. He's no spring chicken. This might be the worst time to be digging his heels in and getting stubborn. Even if he's in the right, the business of boxing is not about right and wrong. It's about leverage. That's the sad truth of it. And very rarely do fighters have more leverage than promoters. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section below. And just to let you know before I go, my post-fight reviews for Craig Richards versus Willie Hutchinson, Ray Ford versus Nick Bull, Hamza Shiraz versus Amma Williams, and Dimitri Bivol versus Malik Zanard are all up on my Patreon page right now. Just download the Patreon app from the Play Store or the App Store, head on over to my page and select the tier called the Boxing Brotherhood. That's where you'll find all my exclusive boxing content. There's all sorts on there, including film study, where I analyze video footage of various fights and what have you. We've also got a members chat over there. There's no contract, no commitment. You can cancel at any time, just like Netflix, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. All the relevant links are in the description box below. So yeah, get clicking and I'll catch you over there.